Narcs and people with NPD test you. Now, they're not going to be obvious with the testing at first, but they test you. And they test you to see if you are going to take their stupidity. Note, I didn't curse this time. Now look, I have not done extensive research about these people and their disorders, especially in the psychological and psychiatric field. But I do know that every single narcissist in my life has tested me somehow, some way. They always test you. They want to see what you can take. They want to see their limits, right? So then they know if they should invest more time in grooming you or not. This doesn't mean that this is just a love interest. This could be a family member. I had plenty of family members do this to me, and it just drove me bananas. This could be like friends. Let's see what your friends are going to, put you through. I've had friends who have put me through so much, and I didn't realize they were narcissistic because we had a great relationship that spanned forever until they changed. Now, people do change, right? People evolve. Every 10 years, the human body changes. Every 10 years, people change, right? And you don't always keep the same friends forever. Same love interest forever. Life is always evolving and changing. But narcissistic people don't evolve, right? They just take a slower time pulling off their mask. So you want to know how you can drive a person with NPD or narcissistic person crazy. Simple. You reverse their tests. Now, hold on, right? You are going to say, what do you mean, Supernova? Reverse their test. You have to airbender that shit. I know that sounds weird, but whenever a narc tests you, you immediately test them right back. And you'll know it's a test. Oh, you'll know it's a test. So, for instance, let's say this. You go out on a date, right? And this is a first date. And this dude is charming or whatever. You know what? I'm going to give you an example. So when I was dating, before COVID, I met this dude at a bar, right? He was very charming, right? But I've already kind of been through the last rungs of the narcissistic rodeo, and he was giving me all the signs that he was doing PUA stuff. For those who don't know what PUA is, that means pickup artist stuff. These are basically actions that narcissistic men who have no game try on women to see if they're easily manipulative, right? And so I was wearing like this hairpiece, and he was just looking at me and giving me the stare, right? A lot of narcissists, they stare at you. They don't look in your eyes because that's a mutual thing. They study you like the animals that they are. And he started to give me these bullshit commands like, why don't you take off your hair scrunchie and let me see it? And so I did, because I already knew what this was going to be. He was trying to test me and see how far he can take me, right? And so I did, because I wanted to see how far he was going to test me. And then, I know this is funny, I did go on a date with this dude, but let me go ahead and just tell you how this date went. So he was calling me every other day to the date. Well, first, he didn't call me for 2 weeks, which I was like, cool. Narcissistic people, they want to see if they give you the silent treatment or if they ghost you, if you're going to hunt them down. It's a power play. They want to see how much power they have. But your girl Supernova, has already been through this. So she was like, cool, I can go ahead and take care of myself and go to some other bars and hit the movies and whatever. Because I have a life. Narcissistic people, they want to test you and see if you have a life. If you have a life, oh, that's a problem. So after 2 weeks, he was just like, oh, well, you didn't call me. And I was just like, no, bitch, because you're the man. I'm the prize here. You call me. skirt, skirt. That was the first test. He wanted to see if I was going to be like, oh, I'm sorry. Blah. No, I wasn't like that. So he's like, okay, well, let's go to this bar over in this neighborhood. I'm like, okay, well, I'll be finished with my tasks at 7 so I can meet you there at 8. And so he's like, okay, cool, bet. Then a day later, he's like, well, let's just change it and go here. And I was like, no. I said, you can change it and go there. I said, but I'm going to change my plans. And he's like, okay, well, we'll go back to the original place. So during the week, 2 or 3 times, he was trying to change, right, the venue. And I was like, no. I said, if you're going to do this, I said, this is the 3rd time you tried to call me and change this. So this is your last time. If I don't see you at the place we originally said, then you can go ahead and kick rocks because I have other things to do. So he's like, okay, sure. So that was another test to see if I was going to change my mind. And I was like, no, you said this the first time and we're going to keep it that way. So I get there, right? And I immediately, and I will admit this, I was wearing kind of a low cut top because narcissistic people, they want to start to touch you, right? This is a way that if you kind of don't want to be gangster like I was, don't do this. But I wanted to see how far and how sleazy this dude was, right? So I wore like a little bit of a low cut top with some cleavage. And I met him at the bar. And he's just like, wow, you look really nice. And he starts buying drinks or whatever. And so I just basically was like, oh, I'll just have a single drink. Don't ever drink heavily around a narcissist, if at all, because they're going to try and get you wasted. He was kind of mad about that. He goes, oh, well, I'm paying, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no. I said, I just finished doing whatever, and I don't need to have any heavy drinks right now. I'll just have some water. And so I'm sitting there, and, I had some cleavage showing. Well, then he poked my boob, the little boob that kind of came out. And I just looked at him, and he's like, oh, you could let me do that. And I was just like, yeah, because I wanted to see how much of a trash heap you are. And he's just like, well, you shouldn't have had him out there. I said, oh, so you're going to slut shame me too? Now, you see what I did there? You see how I basically, every time he was coming up with a test, I was completely reversing it. And he's just like, well, I'm not slut shaming you. It's just, I said, no, you touched me like a child. I said, but I'm going to let you do that because I want to see how far you're going to go. He didn't like that. Now, note, who is the predator now at the table? Of course, your girl Supernova is. So I said, you know what? I said, let's go to this party. And it was a party going on the same day as our date. I said, now I'm going to throw you into the deep end, narcissist. Now you're going to play in my world. So this dude was acting like he was this intellectual, right? He was a scumbucket. Oh my God, he was such a scrub. But I have very cool friends who are highly intellectual. They're smarter than me, and I love them for it. And so he was like, well, yeah, okay, I'll meet your friends. I'm like, okay, let's do this. Bet. So we take an Uber to a friend's house. They're having a house party. And these are some highly intellectual people. These are people who basically have 3/4 of their house as books. Like they just have walls and walls of books. They're very well traveled. They've been all over the world. And so I went ahead and just dropped him into the deep end. And I was like, hey, these are so-and-so and so-and-so. This is my new boyfriend. He was smiling at first until they started breaking down the intellectual stuff, until they started waxing poetic about authors and philosophers and all this other stuff. And then you could just see him sweat. Narcissistic people, you really want to test them? Throw them around your friends and make sure you have some high quality friends at that. That's going to break them down real quick, especially if they're stupid narcissists. Now, if they're smart narcissists, simple. Go ahead and drop them in front of your crunk friends, your friends who are going to dance on the bar, your friends who are going to, basically like moon people from their cars. You've got to go ahead and take a narcissist out of his element to see who he really is when he's a coward or she's a coward. So the narcissist I was dating at the time on this date decided that, hey, I want to leave. This was maybe 20 minutes into it. I want to leave. And I was like, oh, really? Why? I thought you were so smart and you went to the military and you have these degrees. I thought these were your people. He's like, well, I just kind of wanted to be a quiet, night for us. And I was like, oh, that was the narcissist trying to isolate me again, right? Because I had reinforcements. I was like, okay, Narky, let's go. So then we go to another bar and he starts drinking heavily again. Now let's go ahead and talk about what happened at this. So he's trying to tell me about, his ex-girlfriend and, how she let him do whatever. And then she moved all the way to Italy because she just, couldn't deal with the love anymore. And I was like, oh, did she move to Italy because she was with another dude, or did she move there because of job? And he's like, oh, well, she found a boyfriend and she moved to Italy. And, we still love each other and call each other. I was like, oh, no, Narky, you ran her off. And then she found a dude who was like, you know what, I'm going to, put some D's on that and move you to Italy. But I kept listening to him wax poetic about how, he was this love-sick man who just never could find the love of his life. Then came the tab. Now, this person asked me out, right? And he wanted to split the tab. I was like, oh, sure, no problem. So while he went to the bathroom, I just started texting for an Uber. And I paid the tab in full. And he says like, oh, okay, well, let's go ahead and split it. I said, oh, no. And the waitress just looked at him like, oh, no, she paid your tab, sir. And he was like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, no, that's fine. I got up and I didn't even say anything. I just got up because my Uber came. And I went to my Uber. He's running behind me. Wait, can I get a hug? I was like, yeah, sure, you can get a hug. I gave him like one of those pats. And then he was blowing up my phone, talking to me about how Drake was the best, the most poetic rapper of all time, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, uh-huh. And he's like, if you were supposed to be my girl, we only do 50-50 until, you move in with me. Then that's when I start footing everything. I was like, that's cool. And then I blocked him. And then he tried 3 or 4 or 5 times to get to me somehow, some way, to the point where he found my email address, I guess. And he sent me half of the bill, but it wasn't even the tab. It wasn't even the whole tab. It wasn't even the tip. But I'm telling you this story because if you've noticed the brutality I had about calling him on his stuff, I basically reversed all of his tests on him. And then the same bar that we met, I went there before. And the bartender was just like, so what happened between you two? I said, your patron is a scrub. And he came in and he couldn't even sit at the bar, right? Because I just sat there looking pretty, drinking my drink. And then finally he tried to make some big hoopla to show that, we're cool now, right? We're cool now. And I was just like, no, Narky, we're never cool. But you keep thinking that. And you can tell these men how I basically took your testicles and wore them as earrings. When it comes to narcissists, you cannot let them test you for long. You must show them that you have backbone. You must show them that you're just as brutal and as cruel and as cold as they are. You must show them that you're heartless. Now, some people on YouTube are definitely like, stay away from them. It's an addiction. When you get sick of a narcissist enough, you won't be addicted anymore because they do the same thing. And then you'll start to play. Test them. They want to see what you'll take. They want to see how little they can respect you. But when you show them that you are not the one to fuck with, you either run them off or you use them. And I suggest if they're simps enough, if they're low value enough, that you basically drain their wallets and keep it pushing. Thank you, Internet. You have a good day.